August 19th. Welcome to Looped In with Maritza. I want to first thank the National Parents Union for allowing me this time and this platform to be able to speak with you and just share. A lot of things have been happening currently. Right now, the Democratic National Convention is going on. Former Vice President Biden has been officially nominated. Kamala Harris has also been nominated to be on his ticket to run for vice president. And hopefully we will get the vote out. Please keep in mind that the National Parents Union is currently running its campaign for Every Family Vote. Please go on our Facebook page for National Parents Union, click on the tab for Every Family's Votes. There you can find important information that will help you register to vote. Make sure you register for ballots, for mail-in voting. You'll also be able to tap into our toolkit to be able to get information according to the state that you live in with regards to being able to vote come this November. It's a very important election for everyone. Also, please remember your census 2020. If you have not filled out the census, there are 3 ways that you can do it. You can do it by phone, you can do it by mail, you can also do it on the internet. Just look up census2020.org. Also keep in mind that this is a season in which folks are going to be knocking on people's doors. So if you have not done your 2020 census and you don't mind speaking to somebody for about 10 minutes, please do not be afraid if someone knocks on your door showing you their identification from the census to just answer the questions. It is very important. People do not realize that the numbers from the 2020 census are needed so that we can be able to be represented as far as the legislative map. We need this information to make everyone counted, and this count will affect everything from how many new schools are going to be built, transportation routes, Pell Grants for our children that are going to be going to college, that are in college. It's going to help with the infrastructure. If your roads and streets are in disarray, that's going to help with that as well. Please make sure you fill out your 2020 census. Education is something that's very important. The foundation for education for all of us, it starts in the home, it starts with our moms and dads, or whomever is our caretaker, opens up a book and begins to read. It is further established in school when it comes to reading. Then writing. Today I've asked someone that I know that is an author to come on the show and talk to us a little bit about himself, about his journey as a writer, and the importance of quality education when it comes to learning how to read and write. Please allow me to welcome my esteemed guest, Mr. Hakeem Stokes. You're on mute.
Okay.
Welcome.
Can you hear me? Hey,
Yes. How are
you?
you?
Great, I'm great. Peace and blessings to you.
Thank you, thank you. Please tell us about yourself.
Okay, my name is Hakeem Stokes. I'm an author, artist, poet, and entrepreneur from South Philadelphia. I published my first book in 2012. It was a novel about a young man who realizes the virtues of monogamy. I was born and raised in South Philly. I had the basic upbringing that everyone has, but I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to have traveled the world since then, from then till now. So even as a child, I've always been an avid reader, and that's what transitioned me into writing. And that's what that and my mother's persistence transitioned me into writing. So I've been an author and a poet ever since.
Okay. If you don't mind shouting out the schools you attended and tell me what your experience was like in those schools.
Lord have mercy. I mean, how much time we got for this show?
I'll give you the time you need.
I went to Yeah, I went to various elementary schools, but I guess my latter school was because I moved around the city a lot. They call my mom the gypsy of the family, so we lived in a lot of sections of Philadelphia. But we always bounced back to South Philly, so we'd go somewhere and come back to South Philly for a time or two. But I went to Henry C. Lee. That's where I graduated junior high, and then I went to South Philadelphia High School. Shout out to the Rams. And then I went to Community College of Philadelphia, and I finished my education at Temple University.
Okay. Community College of Philadelphia. That's where you and I met. We were backpack kids.
Yes, yeah.
It was a whole group of us.
Hey, we was doing our.
Whole
That's
group
right. We
of
was doing
us.
our thing. It was all. It was
Yes,
like
yes.
underground. It was an underground network, right?
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. So
Yeah, but I love it.
your mom really influenced you and establish that
Absolutely.
foundation for you for reading and being engrossed in books.
Yeah.
And I see
Mhm.
here, you mentioned your first book. Tell me, in your opinion, how absolute, the importance of all children to be able to get that quality assistance, because it should be starting from home, but if it's not starting at home, how important is quality, equitable education from kindergarten through 12th in the life of a young person to then help them on their career path or whatever they choose to do?
Well, I mean, it is quintessential for you to be able to read, as the corny saying goes, but it's actually a standard. Reading is fundamental. If you can't read or do simple arithmetic, how will you read a contract? How will you read an application? How will you read job descriptions? How will you count your money? So reading is definitely, not just as quintessential, as monumental, it's beneficial to your life. It's a lot of things that you can do if you can read. A lot of folks don't, I think they take reading for granted. And when you want to do something, if you just want to befuddle someone or if you just want to have them like scatterbrain, then you can read the thesaurus. My mother had me go to a library when I was very young. I would say probably in elementary school, had to be early elementary school in the summertime. I told her that I was bored. And I believe I was in like maybe the second, third grade. She said, "Oh, okay. Well, go to the library and read the dictionary and start from A." So I had an assignment to do about 10 or 20 words per day that summer. And I never told my mother I was bored again.
I'll bet.
So it was a it was a punishment, but it actually was an indirect educational lesson. So I've always, knew the value of a few 50-cent words and was able to utilize them in sentences from a very young age. And that's only because I was able to read. My mother put books in front of us at a very early age, before kindergarten. She wanted us to be prepared for kindergarten. So she took the reins and did different things that she had to do. And I believe she read not parenting books, but just things that uh, probably education that a child should have before going into school or before academia. So she she utilized a lot of her teaching. She also was an assistant teacher as well.
Mm,
So I guess she may have had that advantage, early on in my career. My childhood, she was also a assistant teacher. So education has always been monumental in my household.
wow. And what would you say to those parents right now that are dealing with, grappling with, am I doing enough for my younger ones? Because once the child is maybe after the fourth grade, hopefully they pretty much have
Right.
a good grasp of what reading is and what letters are. But I'm talking about like preschool age, kindergarten, possibly even first grade, where a child may be
Yeah.
struggling, not through the parents' fault, but unfortunately due to the lack of, an adequate or rigorous curriculum from their current school. What would you say to those parents, to help them try to give their child a leg up as far as being able to read better?
Well, I mean, you can start from Dick and Jane, or you could get some early Swahili books, whatever you want them to be strong in, whichever subject you wish them to be strong in, whether it's mathematics, well, arithmetic at that level, or spelling, uh, geometry, whatever. I mean, you can show them different states on the map. I mean, you'll be amazed. I mean, living in this day and age, children have a wide a range of things. Even unfortunately, if you're not getting it from your parent, you can just go on the internet and pretty much educate yourself. There's children, they're doing a multitude of things before they get into kindergarten. They can recite countries and continents and states and cities and things of that nature. They can, go up and down the addition table and things of that nature. They can spell different, maybe 2 and 3 syllable words before they get into Kindergarten. So this is a wondrous time that we're living in. So I would just tell parents, young parents or parents of a firstborn at whatever age, take full advantage of what you have before you, the internet, hard copy books, what have you. Because even though maybe because I'm old school, but even though we live in this uh, highly technologically advanced time, I still like hard copy books. I still like to crack open a book. I still like the feel of it, the smell of it, and it just seems more. It's just more fascinating to me. It's more tangible,
Well,
literally and figuratively, to hold that
you
book in
made
your hand.
mention that your mom sent you to the library and gave you the task of going through a dictionary.
Right.
I'm going to age myself.
Right.
We had to do that. Oh my gosh, where'd it go? Okay, I'm sorry. We had to do that when I was in Catholic school. They had us go through the entire
Okay.
dictionary, A to Z, not as a punishment, but just
Right.
as busy work.
Right.
But my mother, being a single
Right.
mom, working multiple jobs, she was afraid to let us venture out, even though our closest library was
Okay.
literally 2 blocks from our home. My mom went
Right.
ahead and invested in, now get this, Encyclopedia Britannica,
Hey,
the full set, the full
education.
leather bound
That's right.
set.
That's right.
And that's what
Education.
we went to. That was our internet. Those of us, that are of a
Right.
certain age
Right.
remember that
Right.
there was a set of books from A to Z that were
Mm.
huge and heavy and thick and had that new book smell and that leather smell. And mommy bought the whole
Right.
set, and we had it for years. And I think one of
Mm.
my friends said, what happened to that set? I said, I don't know what my mother did with it. I don't know if she sold it. I hope she didn't throw it away. I hope she gave it away. But we had that whole set
Right.
from the time I would say the 4th grade through high school. That is what I use. That is what I refer to,
Okay.
aside from our regular library. So I absolutely understand that. Now, being that you were exposed to words and writing and literature and books, hard copy from your mom, and she tasked you with learning words, throughout the summer, how did that help you transition into being a poet or a spoken word artist?
Simply because I love to have fun with words, and I like to utilize the English language and a few other languages just to decorate the mind with words and syllables and sounds, because you hear simple words uh, throughout your day, but I like to, in my writing and in my speech, when I did spoken word, I like to utilize words that you didn't hear in your everyday, and that maybe that you didn't hear before. I would like for folks to go uh, look through a thesaurus or go run to a dictionary to get the meaning of whatever, and that challenges you. That makes it fun for the listener or for the reader, rather than just everything is just the man can say, like, that's boring. I would think that's boring reading, but if you have some colorful words, some colorful literature, it makes the word fun, and it keeps you from being bored. I believe I've seen people read and would be asleep with their eyes open because they're just reading the same thing over and over and over, just recycled. But when you see a word, you're like, oh man, what does that word mean? And then you either go to the glossary, or you just go to the dictionary, thesaurus, and you find out what it means, and then you may add it to your everyday vocabulary, or something that you may need in a pinch. So that was my experience with that, and that was my benefit from that, actually.
Hakeem, what is it that pushed you or that influenced you to then go ahead and start to self-publish?
Well, the saying that I use all the time, even uh, when I sign authors, is no one's going to do you like you. No one's going to mean, and no one's going to push your career like you. And I went over several contracts. I was offered several contracts, and as a new author, they pretty much, no matter how exciting your book may be or how much buzz you may have or something that prior to coming to them, they still just offer you a standard contract. Well, I didn't want to go with the standard contract because I didn't think my material was standard. And also, once you sign that over,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it's pretty much you just get that standard contract money, and then they own they own the rights to your work, so they can do whatever they want to later. They can make it into a biopic, they can make it into a, who knows, a TV series, a movie, and you don't get any extra money for that. They might put your name in the credits and say uh written original written work by blah blah blah. They may, but lots of times they, once they own it, that's it. And they changed the name, and that was a lot of things I ran into when I was talking to other authors before I signed. They said, "Oh man, they changed the name of the character, main character, or they changed the name of several characters, or they changed the city and location," and that made the book unrelatable to who I was trying to relate it to, or that made the book unauthentic because it may have just watered it down. And
Mm-hmm.
there's, being on both sides of it, the business, and on being on both sides of the business, I can see why they did it, but I would believe just for authenticity's sake, you have to leave different nuggets in there so that folks can give a little wink to maybe wherever they grew up at, or whatever city they're from, or what have you. You can't say, oh, something happened in Paterson, New Jersey, or Passaic, New Jersey, but the more sexy city right now is Los Angeles. So we're going to say it happened in wherever, Los Angeles or California or whatever. So they'll do that. They have that right. They have that liberty once you sign a contract. And you can't, oh yeah, they was eating at Roscoe's, and you'd be like, no, we was eating at Mama Sissy's or somewhere, in Passaic, you know what I mean, on the corner of blah, blah, blah. So it loses all of that when you sign your rights over. But the pros and cons, I always say, hey, if you need that X amount of $1,000 at that moment to do whatever, get a house, get a car, pay for tuition for your kids, ball out, whatever. If you want that X amount of $1,000, then go ahead and take it. Everybody's situation is different. But I just believe in me. So I always go with myself.
Okay. If you can, talk to me a little bit about The Purple Orchard Syndrome. Give one of those
Well,
nuggets
the
to make
purple.
people wonder what it's about.
Well, it's a very interesting book. It was my first. I had two books of fiction. I had two novels in front of it, and about two or three books of poetry. But the Purple Orchard Syndrome is actually uh, the first nonfiction work I did, and I interviewed 12 men between the ages of 21 and 71 on their experience of growing up without a father in the household. So it tells of their trials, tribulations, and also their triumphs. And it's just it was unbelievable interviewing those 12 gentlemen from that different sides of the spectrum. And unfortunately, some of them had the same story, not exact same story, but they had several things that were similar, as in a lot of them never heard their father tell them that they loved them, or they never received any type of uh, affection from their father, like a hug, or maybe when you're younger, a kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the top of the head, or never gave them any accolades like, hey, you bring a B minus home and they say, hey, go ahead, great job, do better next time, but great job. Like they never received anything like that. And that's important for, pardon me, that's important for a child's growth as well. If you push them, you motivate them, you play to their strengths, and you let them know that, um, okay, you got a B minus, but A will be better. Work harder. But right now we're going to celebrate this B minus. So um, everything deserves something. There's some households you kid may be getting A plus pluses, and they still don't receive anything from a parent, older sibling, anything. So sometime in the residual, that child believes that it doesn't matter if I do well or if I do terrible, I'm still gonna get the same treatment in life. So I'm gonna go with the easy route and just, you know, play the streets. So it's important from day one to always encourage your child. The same way you do when they start taking a step or two, and you're like, yay, you're very excited, you're very juvenile and everything. That's the way you have to continue with them throughout their childhood and young adulthood.
Wow. So what were so that is a very good that's some very good encouragement for parents, single parents,
Right.
single mothers, single fathers, caregivers,
Right.
grandparents, whomever is just watching a child, constant encouragement, especially in this time of COVID, where a lot of people are trying to stay encouraged, but they just can't. So that's a very good a good piece of encouragement that you just gave right there. And I read something from your bio that this is true, that you believe that the gift of writing has allowed you to blend imagination and reality to create your own universe. So
Indeed. Indeed.
has all of your writing come from a place of a desired space, a desired universe for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just speaking with one of my cronies a few weeks ago. He's also an author, and I was telling him that you pour some of yourself into the writing, but just hints. You're not doing a biography or whatever on yourself. It's just like uh, in my writing, and a lot of times in my writing, I'll put something in there for a character that I wish I would have said, or if I was in a different space in my life, I would have done, or I would have uh, went about a situation far differently if if I had to do it again. So it's those instances that makes writing so powerful, because the person that may be the reader, they may be thinking the same thing, like, oh man, I was thinking that same thing, or I was in that situation. Maybe that's how I should have went about it to get the resolution I was, trying to come up with. So yeah, that's where I say writing is very powerful. There's so much strength, and it's also release. Writing for me, because I was a product of that single parent household, and writing was a very early release for me. Not to say I didn't have a voice, but it was just very stressful being coming up in that environment, and the therapy, which was what was very, very therapeutic, was just me writing in a journal early on. So I would definitely advise that to young children as well. Write in a journal, uh, whatever aspect you are, male, female. Write in a journal, write in a diary, just write. Writing is definitely a positive release.
So that's part of your self-care. That's a big word now.
Oh,
Everybody has to be,
definitely,
they gotta do their self-care, no matter what it is you do.
oh yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah. You definitely should put you first, and that's not a selfish thing, but you got to put you first. A lot of people live that, where they're putting everybody in front of themselves, and then they're having a mental breakdown. They're having a physical breakdown. They're having a stroke. They're having a heart attack. It's because you're putting everything in front of yourself. You're putting everything and everybody is way more important than yourself. You're not eating right. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not exercising. You're ripping and running, but it's not in a positive aspect. It's not in something that will be like conducive to your health. So I definitely, whatever things you can do, whether it's meditating, whether it's prayer, whether it's just sitting down for 5 minutes, just take advantage of that, and get you better before you try to
Mhm.
better someone else.
Okay. Let me talk to Hakeem, the entrepreneur. What have you been doing?
um, lately, as of late, I've started a venture with hats, um, both in English and in Swahili. So I've done a few creative. I've taken some creative liberties and blended a word like protest vote, because the greatest protest is to vote. That's the greatest protest, and folks have died for that. I think until 1920, women weren't even allowed to vote. So voting is that's not to be taken for granted. Even if you don't like the candidate that may be in your quote unquote party, still vote. I don't even, to me, I don't even think you have a voice unless you vote. Like, you can't complain about something and you have a chance to vote and you don't vote because, oh, it's a whatever candidate. I wasn't for that candidate. Well, it's like, well, you not voting, you're for the opposite. That your non-vote is a vote for the opposite candidate.
Hmm.
So I don't understand. And also have this for the young ladies, Melanin Marvelous. And I have several more. This one was really personal to me.
Yes.
A for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
For
That
those that
they
don't know, please explain it to them.
well, unfortunately, it took 8 minutes. It took a police officer 8 minutes and 46 seconds to extinguish a young king's life, and that was most unfortunate, but everyone still keep the pressure on. In March of 2021, there should be a trial. There's supposed to be a trial for that office, for those officers, those four officers. It wasn't just one officer. It was one officer on his neck, and there was another one on his back, and another one on his legs. So he was pent down to the ground, unable to move or breathe. That's why they say I can't breathe, because that's what the young man was saying. That's the
Mm-hmm.
young king was shouting, crying for his mother. And that's why I dedicated that hat to him, for everyone to never forget that. It's not just for style or what have you. It's so that you don't forget that. And it's so that you try to live your life better. Try to do something different. What could he have done differently that day? Who knows? But we know that the police could have done something differently, like not killed him. As simple as that.
Yep.
Just detain him, arrest him. It didn't, an alleged bad check or an alleged phony money didn't deserve his life being taken.
Mm-hmm. That and,
So
and
that's
bullets.
846.
Bullets are not needed either to stop a person. People that have been shot
I mean,
could have been tased.
right,
You could have just
right,
tased the
not an
person you
unarmed
wanted to
person.
do. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
Tase them. I mean, I know when I was younger, coming from a age, uh, telling my age, a lot of the policemen used billy clubs,
Yes.
nightsticks. Um, there's ways to subdue someone without the use of deadly force.
Yes.
And like I always stress, especially if they're not armed. If there's more than one police officer and there's only one assailant, alleged assailant, because half the times they don't even know if that's the assailant. They don't even know what the severity of the situation or whatever. I mean, just because someone accuses you of something, you have to get both parties' view of things. They say, "Oh, he snatched a pocketbook." If he's standing there with no pocketbook in his hand, you don't just throw the person to the ground, drag them on the concrete, and you got to get their story. Or at least at the very least, arrest the person and let them have their day in court.
I
I mean, a lot
absolutely
of these
agree.
people they don't even have a day in court. They're not even, judged by quote unquote jury of their peers.
And
And
they're
it's
not
just
going through the
it's a
process.
whole lot of things. Right. Unfortunately, that could be that could be a multitude of shows, because you'll go to a trial and it's supposed to be your peers, and there's no one up there that looks like you. There's no one up there that's from your circumstance. So I don't know how far that goes as far as saying you're being judged by a jury of your peers, but this is the system, and you have to abide by it as much as possible.
I agree. If anyone wanted to look into your books or your what you've been starting as far as the
Merchandise.
research, yeah, the merch. I didn't want to say merch. I was gonna say merchandise. You beat me to it. How would they do this?
Yeah.
How can they reach you?
Well, if you can see this, it's another one of my creations. If you can see that,
Yes,
that's the website. Go to
asofillabooks.com.
ASO.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Asafalebooks.com, and
Yes.
you click on merch. You click on Asafale merch, or you click on whichever book you so desire. I have I have what I call works of heart. I have 8 works of heart so far. Uh,
Okay.
2 novels, 4 books of poetry, 2 nonfiction works, and I also have a signed author. Her book is Pretty Duplicity, and it tells the story of a young woman's journey through the wilderness of life. It's very deep. It's very riveting. The things that she put in the book, you kind of hear a little tidbit about young ladies' stories growing up, but you don't. She puts it all out there. Uh, Fortunately, not all young women go through this, but uh, unfortunately, too many young women go through things in that book, and it's very off-putting. It's to know that folks take advantage of young, kids, toddlers, adolescents, pardon me, babies even. It's just infants. It's heart wrenching, because children, they're defenseless, and I guess that's the whole thrill of it, or that's the whole purpose of it. But I mean, that's just cowardice on such a high level that you take. You just strip someone's life. You strip someone's being, because unfortunately, a lot of people are never the same again. Whether it's physical, mental, emotional. A lot of folks, unfortunately, do not come back from that. So I would just, wish people would think on a higher level than just reacting. I know they say a lot of folks, pardon me, can't help themselves, but if you just take a few moments to think, or even just to think, if how would I feel if that was me? So you definitely have to think. A lot of folks, I think they just react irrationally. They just impulse. They don't think about the day after, the minute after, or anything. And one of my second novel, At 12 After, there's a case of that, because I don't want to give too much away, but everyone thinks it's just one way, but it's also another way. So when you read that novel, you'll figure out what I'm speaking of, but it isn't always just one way. There's several ways that happens.
Well, I'm very happy that you have used your talent of writing, of spoken word, your poetry, your desire to branch out into other areas of opportunity as far as your merchandise now. And I know that and I'm very glad to say and honored to say that I actually did, I got a chance to meet your lovely mom, and even though many, many years ago, it was very nice to meet her. I mean, her spirit, it was great. It was light. It was, she was always friendly and with a smile, and I appreciated that. I want to thank you for allowing me some time with your very, very busy schedule, with all the many hats that you wear, to come on my show to talk about your experience as a writer, as a poet, as an entrepreneur, to also give you a little bit of South Philly accent, which is much appreciated. Your information.
Well, with the John and the Chumpy.
Yes. I really do appreciate you coming on my show. Don't be surprised if I ask you to come on again, or if one of my colleagues that also has a show asks you as well, because we do that. If there's someone that we see on someone else's show that lit a spark up for some reason or another, we say, I want that person with me, give me their information as well, and we reach out. So do not be surprised if that happens. I'm going to take a few moments now to speak to our viewership and tell them a few things while it's still fresh in my mind. But Mr. Hakeem Stokes, thank you so very much. Say the name of the website again, because I pronounced it wrong. I said Asophila. What is it again?
It's no problem. Everyone does that initially. It's called Asophile Books. AsophileBooks.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually the hardest substance on earth it's an asophile.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. We will talk soon. You can stay on and keep on watching.
Blessing.
Thank you.
I definitely.
Thank you so very much again to Mr. Hakeem Stokes. Family, once again, the importance of making sure that our children receive that support, receive that solid foundation. It does start with us from the moment they are born, but we also need to make sure that the education that they receive is also helping to build strong minds, strong trains of thought, success stories. I call a child's education their career. It is a career. It is a grammar school career. It is a high school career. It gets them ready for whatever comes next, whether it be college or a technical field or a vocational field, whatever field the child chooses once they graduate from high school. But it starts at the foundation of education. Education is very important. I ask all of you that are interested, that are supportive, that want to be part of this National Parents Union to please go on the Facebook page for National Parents Union. Become a member. If you are part of an organization, you can also become a member. And please let me reiterate, just because the name says union, it does not mean that you pay dues. No one is asking you to pay any money. We just want for you to show your support. We want you to be a part of, we want you to collaborate, we want you to be an ally. We are fighting for everyone. I am not just fighting for me and mine, I'm fighting for you and yours and all of ours. This is very important. It is also very important that we all vote. Again, every family vote campaign, every family votes campaign on the National Parents Union Facebook page. Click on that tab. We also have some swag available if you want to help promote this very important campaign. The Census 2020, it is very important. If we want to be counted, our numbers need to be valid. You count. Make sure that your entire family is counted. Make sure that your entire block is counted. Talk to your family, friends, neighbors. Let them know that it's very important to do it, whether it be by phone, whether it be via the internet, whether it be by mail. Please take care of that. Get it done. And if someone comes to your door and you're a little bit uncertain, I know there are a lot of people out there trying to scam for many reasons. If you want to prove that that person is a census employee, get the information from your city. I can give you an example, the city of Philadelphia. We can dial 311 if we suspect that the person at our door is not a legitimate government census employee. And the 311, once it's dialed through the city, they can verify. They have access to the records to verify based on that ID if that person is legit, if that is your concern. You do not have to let the person in your home. They don't have to go in your home. It could be right at your door, right on your porch, right on your step. Even if you live in an apartment building, make sure that if someone knocks at your door, you do respond. It's just 10 minutes of your day, and that's going to effectuate thousands of dollars over the next 10 years. That's going to help your city. It will help determine your representation where you live in Washington, D.C. It is very, very important. I want to give everyone a heads up. Next week's show, I'm very excited about it. We're going to have some music, because music, I feel, helps all of us get to that happy place. It is part of my self-care and many people's self-care. So it's going to be a very special show talking about good music. I'm also going to have some people perform. I'm going to have some people talk about music history. I'm going to talk about Philly music in particular as well. So I really hope that you tune in. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their afternoon, wonderful rest of your week. I thank the National Parents Union again for this platform. And please remember to vote, register, request your mail-in ballot. If you don't trust the mail-in process, do what you have to do to get to the polls, form groups to go together, talk to your elderly and those that may need some help due to a disability to get to the polls as well. Please be involved. Please make your vote count. Please make your voice heard for yourself and for your children. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.